Hello, everybody. Welcome into another edition of Gone Racing here from the South Point Hotel. Jeff Motley, Brendan Gaughan.
The best show on Sirius XM. Sponsored by
Dude Wipes.
Thank you very much.
Did I say that with enough enthusiasm? Dude Wipes.
Well, if you saw the picture I posted of my son from this week that I put on Instagram, he needed a dude wiper too.
Okay, that's TMI.
No, he was his first mud race ever this weekend.
Oh, okay.
And he was trash bagged. It was his first trash bag race, we call it. And so he had a trash bag, but his face, if you go to my Instagram or my Twitter, the picture of my son is absolutely priceless.
Do you make him disrobe before he gets into the vehicle and put on like something or?
Well, he had a trash bag over him, so that was not bad.
He just wears a trash bag.
No, he wears fire suit and then the trash bag over the fire suit. Connie from Sparko, she loves it when we put a trash bag over the fire suit.
You hose him down in the yard before you let him even go in the house to take a shower?
He had to go into the motorhome to shower, and it's there. He may leave a little trail, but just check out his face this weekend on my deal. It was priceless.
And did he win?
He's won 7 in a row in his little car, and then the big car had another phenomenal race. Finished 6th in a field of 22.
Has Dad ever won 7 in a row at anything? I'm just asking. It's a fair question.
Well, seeing how you're not, with SMI anymore, I won 4 in a row at your track.
I know.
One of your brother's
4.
tracks.
That's 4. I said, did you ever win 7 in a row at anything? I mean, Georgetown might have won 7 basketball games in a row, but I'm just asking a question.
Wow.
I was just curious.
Wow.
You should be proud of your son doing something.
I am proud of my son,
something
but
you
throwing
haven't done.
shade on the game over here. And the worst thing is I asked everybody to caption it, and I got like Bill McInally going, Dad, I want to race asphalt. And I'm like, I'm blocking you.
That was actually pretty funny.
Yeah, no.
I didn't know Bill had that in him.
Yeah, no.
Okay, good.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. Love you. But no, leave me alone.
But the racing we're going to be talking about is
not going to be muddy.
Right?
Well, it was muddy.
Well,
it was a muddy race.
The Würth 400, Würth 400 was worth a lot to Joey Logano this past weekend. There was a lot of comers and goers in that race, and Joey waited till the very end to be the comer, if you will. And come on, man, where's your mind? Goodness gracious! I mean, yeah, okay,
yeah. Go to the odds. Do something. Just please.
Joey Logano had a great run this past weekend, and he was a 25-1. And I think we even talked during our show last week. If you were looking for a long shot, you're sitting there, and I even mentioned, I said, Joey's going to keep getting better and keep getting better.
It's a Penske car. It's the reigning champion, and everybody's dissing him about the 25-1. Really, you think Joey Logano is 25-1? Kyle Busch right now, sure, 25-1's a good odd for Kyle Busch. Joey Logano is your reigning NASCAR champion, and you had him at 25-1 in a mile and a half in a Penske car.
Shame on you.
Yeah, I just way to go, Joey. Way to do it. And that's the bettors made a boatload on him this week.
Well, and a lot of things to win on Joey Logano this past weekend. He was a plus 400 even for a top 3, which was a good value. He won Group D. Somebody here picked him. He was the favorite.
Group D, by the way.
Group D, which that was my whole thing. You're going to put Joey Logano in a Group D. I'm picking him. He was plus 195. And he brought Ford home to victory, a plus 300. They were the long shot in that group. So a big weekend for Joey Logano. Some other guys, and one guy really stands out to me who might have been the best car all day. All day was Josh Berry.
Another Penske Woods Brothers Ford.
And there was a lot of talk about this quote unquote bump in turn 4. Now it got Josh, it got your guy, I believe, Jesse Love. It got Kyle Busch late in the race when Kyle was actually up there in the top 5 contending for a win. Kind of tell everybody how serious this thing is, because guess what? We watched Joey Logano run across it 267 times without a problem.
Look, no matter what, in Texas especially, I mean, you and I have both been around many iterations of Texas and listening to drivers whine and cry. I mean, I remember the initial Texas when they built it. Remember, it's built wrong, it's dangerous. Oh, I remember Jeff Burton. Oh, it's dangerous.
And then he won the first Cup race there, I believe.
And all that stuff. And I remember Bruton had one of my favorite lines: "Shut and drive." It's like
we even had the T-shirts printed out.
Yeah, no, And no matter what, you always have this iteration where, look, tracks have bumps. Jeff Motley was at Las Vegas Motor Speedway for a number of years. And Jeff, you repaved a track and made it feel like it was 25 years old.
Oh, yeah. I really sweated on that tractor when I was going around making laps over there with that paving machine.
But I mean, bumps are everywhere. And honestly, the character bumps, we've said this I can remember Dale Earnhardt Sr. talking about it, right? I mean, we've all said it. Character bumps give a track character. If everything was perfectly smooth like Michigan, How many people like the Michigan race the last 10 years since they've repaved it? It's way more boring than it was when I drove it and we were 5 wide. When it's perfectly smooth, it's not fun. So Texas to me has always been a great driver's track. A lot of bumps, a lot of character. The turn 4 one right now is upsetting a lot of cars. Look, we run these things on the ragged edge. They're only using, an inch and a quarter of travel. You've got all these things, but Joey Logano navigated it. Some didn't.
And the way I look at that is, as you said, every single driver
drove across that same place. Nobody had a secret shortcut.
Right. I say the same thing about golf. Every single golfer in a golf tournament tees up in the same spot, and the ball has to end up in the same spot. So if you hit it into a bunker, or if you hit it into the trees, you hit it there. So if you run over that bump and you don't control your car, it's there.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. Let's take a look at our top 10. Ross Chastain,
amazing top
very,
10.
very strong run for Ross Chastain. He was a plus 700 for his top 3. Ryan Blaney, no big surprise there, getting a top 3, other than Texas had not been a track that had been
good,
really favorable to him, but certainly a huge day for the Penske cars with he and Joey both getting top 3s. He was plus 275. But we see some names in here that we're not used to seeing, including, how about both of the Legacy Motor Club.
Look, Legacy's starting to come on now. When Jesse spun, it did topsy-turvy the field a little bit. A lot of the guys that were fast got caught laps down, had to take wave rounds, they had to pass people. But you look at Eric Jones, Ricky Stenhouse, Austin Dillon, John Hunter, even Christopher Bell, who
has not been that good on mile and a half.
Not been good. I'd say pretty much sucks on mile and a halves. He's come back with a top 10 there. So great top, and guys that needed it. I mean, how about Legacy? They needed top 10s. Austin needed top 10. So, I mean, that's a great day for those guys and a good solid finish. Hopefully they can build off of that.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think, you don't expect to see Ricky Stenhouse Jr. top 10 at a mile and a half. If at Daytona and Talladega, you can't expect to see that. So certainly a strong run for them, but really happy for the Legacy guys with Eric and John Hunter. Now, I think we have something new this week.
We did something old, something new.
Yep,
we used to do this years ago.
The first year that we did this show, we actually would go back and recap our group matchups, and we really have kind of gotten away from that. I really don't even know why. It's probably because we're so lazy. We have somebody write a script for us, and it wasn't in the script, so we didn't talk about it.
Love you behind the curtain, the great Oz.
Well, and even when we stopped doing it, I don't even think Ann was
she wouldn't hear
the person behind the glass. So let's take a look at our groups and how they panned out last week. Ryan Blaney won Group A. He was a plus 305 in Group A. So I believe he was one of the dogs with Denny Hamlin. He might have been the dog, I believe, at plus 305. Larson had a solid run. Byron got into what you like to call a Hasselhoff that affected his splitter, and then Denny Hamlin blew an engine, and it was quite the fireball. And I mean, there was let's put it this way.
No mosquitoes and roasting marshmallows.
Well, trust me, you knew that we did not have a Pope when Denny Hamlin's car went up, because there was a lot of black smoke.
Which we do as we're doing the show.
We do have a Pope now.
And an American. How about that?
An American. So,
but how about, now, remember last week in the show, the pit crew picked a member of Group B, I picked a member of Group B, and you picked a member of Group B.
And none of us picked the guy that won Group B.
And we said that too. Yep. So we actually congratulated Ross last week on his win in Group B. And there it is.
We did it before the race ever started. So a little foreshadowing there. He was plus 260. Now we move along to Group C. Now, our guy who won in Group C
finished 23rd.
23rd in the race. That was Ty Gibbs at plus 280. Now, Josh Berry, who we talked about, he was the best car in the field. A couple of us up here picked Josh Berry in that group and felt really good about the way he was running, and then he hit the proverbial bump. But I will tell you, I haven't seen the odds this week, but I will be in on Josh Berry again this week, because I'm telling you, I think they got their mile and a half program figured
They're looking
out.
pretty good.
Looking at our other, Joey Logano, a heavy favorite in Group D over there. He did win it. He was plus 195. In Group E, how about that? Eric Jones wins that group. Now, I picked Daniel Suarez. I think you picked Daniel Suarez. He gets a top 10 in Group E.
And loses to Eric Jones in Group E in 5th.
And he loses that one. A great run by Eric Jones. And we were just talking about Ricky Stenhouse. When your Group F guy finishes 6th, now McDowell had a chance to win the race.
McDowell had it won. And then, 5 laps to go, whatever.
And look, Logano was faster there at the end. And then,
but he was still going to finish second, third, or fourth.
Overdrove the corner a little bit. Maybe more than a little bit.
More than a little bit. More than a little bit.
Yeah, more than a little bit. So taking a look now at our driver standings right now, we added now another winner. So now we've got 7 different drivers who have found victory lane. And Joey Logano, a guy who did not even have a top 5 finish coming into this week, now finds himself sitting 5th in the standings. Now, he's not 5th in points, but he's 5th in the standings because of that win. Yep. And there are 2 guys who have won races this year
that are behind
who have fewer points than him.
Oh, and by the way, they're both teammates.
That's true. Teammates, pseudo teammates there. Our cut line now, we see Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has climbed above the cut line.
That's amazing.
He's 12 points ahead of Kyle Busch. Kyle was another one having a strong run at Texas, hit the bump and wiped out there. Ryan Preece, we see him there right in.
And Hocevar.
And Preece had that huge points penalty.
Yep. And so the fact that he's come back from that has showed some strength, and Hocevar right there. But we talked about the Kyle Busch a couple weeks ago. Kyle Busch on near that cut line. That he is sweating that cut line right now, and every time one of these guys wins that's further down, it's just going to keep knocking those guys further and further down.
Well, and especially if we get somebody that is, we know we got
Dinger wins a road course.
Well, we know we got some road courses coming up too. I mean, we've got Sonoma and we've got Mexico City here coming up in the summer. So I think there's certain, and I think Watkins Glen's not in the playoffs anymore either. I don't believe.
So we got some stuff coming up.
And speaking of our upcoming schedule, we'll take a quick look at what we do have coming up. This weekend, we're heading off to Kansas, another 1.5-mile track, followed by yet another 1.5 mile, the Coca-Cola 600 in Charlotte.
After a week off after the
All-Star race at North Wilkesboro. Then we head to Nashville. What's that?
Mile third,
Nashville. Then the big 2-mile track at Michigan, and then we go to Pocono, the Tricky Triangle. So
I love Pocono too. I know some people don't, but Motley Pocono is a ton of fun. 3 completely different races. It's fun to be at. It's fun to race.
It's certainly a very, very interesting racetrack. I mean, I've always kind of thought that's
that tunnel turn. That tunnel turn, man. It takes balls in that tunnel turn.
Right. It's a triangle. It's not an oval, tri-oval,
6 turns,
or
6
anything
turns
like that. All right.
By NASCAR math, 6 turns.
Okay, we'll be back on Gone Racing. We'll start giving you our odds for this week. Where are we? Kansas. Welcome back into Gone Racing. Jeff Motley, Brendan Gaughan here at the South Point Hotel Casino, talking all things Kansas Speedway this weekend, the AdventHealth 400. And Brendan, before we move on, we left out.
Listen, the great and powerful Oz, they made a little bit of a mistake.
Yes. So our schedule upcoming, Pocono does not follow Michigan. We have that little trip south of the border down to Mexico City.
Can you imagine
on June
being Daniel
15th.
Suarez for that race, by the way?
Holy
How
smokes.
big of a deal. I've tried to get Daniel to come run the Baja 1000 with me. And if I have Daniel come run the Baja 1000 with me, I have to hire like a personal security company because it'll be crazy. And going down to Mexico City, I am so excited for Daniel, for him to be able to go to his home. I think that's going to be Mexico City's not his home, but his home country.
Can you imagine if he could win that race?
Oh, dude, if he wins that race, you're going to need a police escort to the airport to get out of there because the party is going to be worse than you and me.
He'll be the new
president
of Mexico.
Yeah. Oh, he could be after that one.
Maybe he can work out a tariff deal.
Listen, our victory party in Vegas after we won that truck race will be nothing compared to what he's going to do in Mexico City. That city will burn.
Yeah, you and I need to go down there and enjoy a piñata.
That would be fun.
Hit the piñata for him.
That would be fun.
Well, this weekend, though, we're at Kansas. We've still got a few weeks before we get down to Mexico City. And look, Denny Hamlin has been so incredibly strong.
How many
this
times do we
racetrack.
show a stat with Denny Hamlin that says 50% of the time he's in the top 10 at a track? I mean, it's an amazing career for Denny. And 16 out of 33 races in the top 10. Absolutely phenomenal. And
of those 16, 14 of those 16 were top fives.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. And even Kyle Busch.
But he used to hate this place. Kyle used to hate Kansas, and then suddenly he started winning at Kansas. But
I want you to look down the list a little bit further. Chase Elliott has 18 starts with 12 top 10s, 7 top 5s. That's also pretty impressive. There's some guys with good stats here. And Bubba Wallace with a win here, remember. This is where Bubba got his first win, not on a super speedway. So a lot of guys with big wins. And let's not forget, before we talk about the winner of last year in this race, for the folks that don't remember last year, this was the closest finish in NASCAR history.
It was like a .001, I believe.
It was some ridiculous, number of time, and it's on the screen behind us now. I mean, it was the Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson, where, oh my God, it was that close. I mean, that's That's the length of a toothbrush.
Well, and Buscher ends up missing the playoffs
because of that right there.
And
missed another one. Remember later on where he missed it by that much
again.
again.
He and Reddick had a little issue in Hasselhoff in one of the races. And I believe there was a third car pretty close behind him there. I think Kyle Busch was pretty close.
That was just a phenomenal finish right there. And so let's not forget that the Fords were great here last year. Chris Buescher was great here last year. Kyle Larson, he's great at every mile and a half. But that was a phenomenal finish.
Well, let's take a look at our odds for this week, and no big surprise.
There you go.
No, we do have some surprises.
There's massive surprises.
We have some massive surprises. However, Kyle Larson is not a surprise to be the favorite here at a plus 300. Ryan Blaney, Tyler Reddick, plus 600. William Byron and Denny Hamlin, plus 700. Christopher Bell is 12-1. Alex Bowman and Ross Chastain are 20-1. And Chase Elliott, Chris Buescher, who we just talked about here, Chase Briscoe, and the guy who won last week, Joey Logano, are all 25-1.
We may not be in the glass booth right outside the sports book anymore, but I'm going to get a hotline phone put back here right behind the booth. That's a hotline. And there's another name we haven't mentioned yet that I got to call Jimmy and Chris and Vinny and say, you guys, you screwed up right now. You're telling me I can get Chris Buescher, who was that close to winning this race last year. And remember, after this, he went on a tear on the mile and a half. I mean, he was phenomenal right after that race last year. But you've got the guy that just won, Joey Logano, at 25-1. You got Chris Buescher right there at 25-1. I think they've made a mistake, Coach.
Even putting Ryan Blaney at plus 600 and not plus 400 to me is a good value, but nowhere to compare to what you're getting there with Joey Logano and with Chris Buescher.
Well,
and I believe, because we saw some earlier numbers, I believe they actually started Joey at 30-1.
They bet him down.
And that means some people have said,
they bet him
Joey
down.
Logano's 30-1. Let's get some of that action.
I mean, you look at Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick had a great run going in the race yesterday. I mean, look, Texas is not the same style mile and a half, but it's still a mile and a half. Tyler Reddick finished second in both stages and then got caught on the topsy-turvy and had a little stuff. So, I mean, he's at 800. How about Denny Hamlin? How many times has Denny Hamlin come back from a bad race like that? And we just talked about his stats. Do you think Denny Hamlin's not going to be battling for this win after that?
Denny's definitely going to be one of the guys to win.
And he's at plus, what do you say, plus 700?
It's almost like having an off week for Denny. He wasn't out there very long.
So, I mean, he's plus 700. There are some numbers right here to win that I may pick 5 winners this week.
Well, let's take a look at our longer odds, and there's some pretty shocking numbers in this one as well. Ty Gibbs is 25-1. Bubba Wallace, you mentioned, got his first non-super speedway win here, 30-1. Josh Berry, let's see.
Give me the hotline.
Josh Berry has a win on a mile and a half and was dominating at
race.
Texas before he wrecked, and he is 40-1, folks. 40-1 for Josh Berry. It's kind of hard not to want to go and take a little bit of a
I could pick 4 winners right now and be happy.
And then we got Brad Keselowski and Kyle Busch are both 50-1. And Keselowski's a guy you keep thinking he's going to have a better run on one of these tracks.
But I'm waiting.
Carson Hocevar is 60-1. Austin Cindric 80-1. And then our longer odds, Corey Heim, Ryan Preece, Daniel Suarez, and Noah Gragson are all 100-1. Field bet is 20-1. And Brendan, I guess I'm getting bad at my job, but Corey Heim, who is he driving for this week?
Corey Heim is driving one of the Toyotas. I think he's in a Legacy third car this week.
Oh, Legacy's running a third car. It's an odd track to be running an extra car.
Look,
it seems.
These guys. You end up with a place. But Corey Heim is one of those guys that has been he's in the Toyota camp. We've been talking a lot about Corey being the next guy.
He filled in for Eric Jones last year when Eric Jones got hurt. That was when I think it was his Cup Series debut.
He's actually doing 2311, not Legacy.
Oh, 2311. So he'll be in a third car.
He's in a third, and he's got Booty as his crew chief too. So, I mean, that's. I don't think he's going to win.
That'd be a fourth car.
Yeah, because you got
Riley out there as well.
Look, I look at this, and I'm just going to zero in on the same things we just talked about. Josh Berry and Bubba Wallace, both. Josh Berry this year on mile and a half has been fantastic. Bubba Wallace got one of his first career wins here. He's been running very good most of the races this year. Better, I think that those are two guys that are both long odds that I feel very good about getting a W here. I'm interested to see, these are, of course, from the South Point. I'm interested to see when you get to the top threes, what it looks like if it matches DraftKings at all.
Well, I think we are going to get into our top threes, and I think we're going to see a little bit of discrepancy there. Again, no shocker. Kyle Larson sits at the top of the board. He's plus 110. Ryan Blaney's plus 200. William Byron, Tyler Reddick, Denny Hamlin plus 230. Christopher Bell plus 275. Very comparable numbers to last week. Joey Logano
plus 400.
is plus 400 along with Chase Elliott. Ross Chastain is plus 500. Bubba Wallace, Kyle Busch, Chris Buescher, Chase Briscoe are all plus 600. Alex Bowman is 650. Ty Gibbs 750 and Josh Berry 850.
Dude, I am loving Josh Berry at 850. I am loving Chris Buescher at 600. I am loving Joey Logano at 400. I mean, the same thing for the wins. But I mean, you're telling me I can get Josh Berry, who he's not. Remember, we used to argue that Ryan Blaney wasn't a closer back in the day? How he'd be running great, but he couldn't finish. Josh Berry right now needs to prove that he can finish.
We did finish at Vegas.
Yes, and so did Ryan back in the day.
But he didn't finish at Martinsville, and he didn't finish at Texas.
So I mean, Josh has got to learn, kind of like Ryan did, how to always get to the finish line better. But you're telling me I can get him for $850 for a top 3, and I can get Chris Buescher for a plus 600? I like both those numbers right there a lot.
Well, I do too. And I mean, I think when you look at some of these, and we didn't even talk about much on Oswin, kind of like Alex Bowman. I mean, he's the guy that could get in there and get you a top 3.
Oh, you're not allowed to talk about Alex Bowman.
Hey, look.
I'm just saying. I got a cease and desist from Hendrick saying that, Jeff Motley, not allowed to mention his name.
Have I been wrong yet? Am I wrong? Have I been wrong? I mean, I've not been proven wrong yet. That's all I'm saying. When I get proven wrong, I will be the first one to step up and say I was proven wrong.
Okay,
that's all I'm going to say.
I had to eat crow with Martin Truex that one year until the playoffs. Then the playoffs was
and look, I know you've been kind of getting a little higher on this guy again, Ty Gibbs. I expect Ty Gibbs to have a solid run this week. So, all right, let's look at our longer odds to finish top 3. Austin Cindric is 11-1. Carson Hocevar is 12-1. Brad Keselowski's 14. Daniel Suarez 15. Ryan Preece 16. Noah Gragson 18. Michael McDowell 20. Corey Heim 22. Jesse Love, he's in the 33 this week. 33 this week. Okay, he is 25-1 along with Eric Jones. Eric Jones, didn't he just finish top 5 last week?
Yes, he did.
A mile and a half. Okay. Austin Dillon is 30-1, and he had a pretty good run, I believe, last week
he did.
as well. AJ Allmendinger is 40-1. Zane Smith, Todd Gilliland, Riley Herbst, and Justin Haley all at 50-1.
I think it's amusing that Corey Heim is higher up than Riley Herbst, who's been running that team all season long. But right here, I look at this. Carson Hocevar ran great last weekend. Had a crash, got involved in somebody else's wreck. But Carson Hocevar was running really, really well. If you watch the race, I mean, 6th and 5th in the stages, led 22 laps. Hocevar, I'm telling you, we're not going to see him on the second page buried if he keeps this up, even if it's at Spire. He's really been doing well. I do like that number. That's really the only one on this second page that I'm intrigued by. It's like I said, intrigued. If I wanted a long shot top 3, I could settle on a Hocevar, but I still think there's enough value on the first page.
Well, I think that we've seen Preece run well almost every week. So Preece is a guy I look at and I say I would not be shocked at all to see him getting here and get a top 3. His teammate there, or actually his boss, if you will, Brad Keselowski. I mean, Keselowski's another guy who, and I said this a little earlier in the show, I just feel like at some point, I think there's going to be some kind of a little corner that Keselowski turns with that team. And we know Buescher's going to run well. So to me, I guess if I'm looking for some value there, I see that both of those guys, but then seeing the runs last week that Eric Jones and Austin Dillon have, does that give them, just a little bit of a lift?
I think but you always have to look at what happened to get some of that there. But
they had to stay there.
No, they stayed
because
there.
There were a number of restarts.
I'm with you. And it was a wreck fest, and there's a number of restarts. But you still got to look at the stage points. Look at where people were running and then where they finished. Dylan, Stenhouse, a lot of those guys were on that positive side of the green flag cycle. So I mean that there's a big difference with that. But I get what you're saying. But saying Eric Jones is going to do it 2 weeks in a row.
Well, and that's fair. And the other name up there, and he's 11-1 at the top of this board, is Austin Cindric, because
they've been good.
We know the Penske cars are going to be strong. Okay, we come back on Gone Racing. We'll give you the head-to-heads, and then we'll also get into our group matchups for this week at Kansas.
That was a deep bass right there from That was Oz right there.
Yeah, we heard a really deep voice coming back behind the curtain here. It's Jeff Motley and Brendan Gaughan here.
Gone Racin
here at South Point. And suddenly we heard the bass.
Yeah, normally we have Ann. We had Ann. We had Des back in the day who with her, her.
Oh shit! Every dog in the neighborhood came running.
The Des voice was one
talking.
of our. But that was a very deep. Who was the deep bass behind the curtain today in the Great and Powerful
It's like
Oz?
one of those bands like the Oak Ridge Boys, the guy with a really deep voice and stuff.
That was Sean.
Daddy had bass. Mama sang tenor. Sorry, I can't sing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
Let's please go to head to head.
Sean is back there, and the dulcet tones back there behind the
golden pipes.
The golden pipe. Yeah. Well, we got golden pipes is at the hockey.
That's
game,
right. Golden pipes.
So okay. But guess what? We are talking about the AdventHealth 400 this weekend at Kansas Speedway, and we're in our third segment, which means driver head-to-heads. And we don't go through each one of these individually. We kind of try to pick and choose if there's some numbers out there we like. If you want big numbers, you're going to have to bet against Kyle Larson. But
listen, last week Tyler Reddick second in stages, ran good, got into one of the wrecks with a bunch of people. I like that Tyler Reddick is plus 140 versus Kyle Larson. I'm not saying that I don't think Larson is the favorite, but I do like that in a head-to-head I'm getting 140. Otherwise, betting William Byron against him or Blaney, not quite as sure about it, but I do like that plus 140. The juice is in the squeeze. There's another one, Jeff, though, that I really do like. Which one do you think it is?
Well, there's another one that I really like.
Okay.
But I'm going to just get more and more hate mail from this guy's fans. But I like the Chris Buescher plus 110 against Alex Bowman.
That's the one
Whoa, are you down on Alex Bowman?
No, I'm not down on Alex Bowman, but I am high on Chris Buescher. Look, Chris Buescher, who had that great run here last year and has run and proven that mile and a half he's run pretty good. He's a plus 110 against Alex Bowman. And Bowman has been a little persona non grata a lot. So, I mean.
And again, he only lost this race by an inch last year.
Yeah.
If it was an inch, it might have not even been an inch.
A toothbrush.
Right. It was Gene Steratore index card.
Yeah.
Remember when he did the first down thing?
Yes.
I'm just, didn't know if that went over.
No, there is our Earl Ross McNugget using Gene Steratore of NFL fame.
NASCAR gambling
only two people that are of their late 40s and early 50s.
Wasn't that long ago? Wasn't that long ago that he pulled
Gene
out
Steratore?
the Well, he's on TV every week now.
Yeah, but
he does
still,
football and basketball.
When he was
a referee,
that had to be 15 years ago.
Well, maybe 10. I don't know.
Yeah.
Am I getting that old?
I just looked at something the other day that I was like, I said it was like 5-10 years ago, and it was 25.
Yeah. When you realize Brett Favre retired almost 20 years ago, that'll tell you in football. But anyhow.
So I do like the Chris Buescher. I do like, if you're going to take anything against Larson, take the biggest return with a guy that I think ran the best last weekend at Texas, Tyler Reddick.
No, I think that's a fair point. All right, let's move along to our group matchups. And here's a shocker. Kyle Larson is favored in Group A. Kyle Larson is plus 210. And then Ryan Blaney and William Byron are both at plus 290. And the winningest driver in Kansas Speedway history, Denny Hamlin, is plus 295.
Look, we always talk about enticement. That's what betting is. That's what you're doing. You're giving me 290 on Byron or 295 on Denny Hamlin. Once again, don't dislike Kyle Larson at 210 either. But that's right there, 290, 295, Denny Hamlin or William Byron. I like both of those.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. I do like those, and I think because they are getting so many points. And like you said earlier, don't expect Denny Hamlin to run poorly on back-to-back. And look, he wasn't running poorly last week. I mean, look, that thing just, like I said, it just blew up.
Or wanted to kill some mosquitoes.
Or blowed up, as those guys back in the 70s, 80s, those guys, we blowed up. Earnhardt used to say, we blowed up. It didn't happen to him very often, but it did. It blowed up. So I'm kind of with you there. But I'm not going to pick this group, I don't believe, this week. But
I like something Group B right now.
All right. Well, let's get along to Group B here, where Alex Bowman, Ross Chastain, and Chase Elliott are all co-favorites at plus 265, and Chris Buescher is plus 275.
Ding, ding, ding. I might get off that head-to-head bet against Alex Bowman for 110 and go right here 265. Ross Chastain ran good last weekend, but you got to give me more than one weekend to make it exciting for that. I like Chris Buescher at 275 here. Chase Elliott kind of is the dark horse to me. You never know what Chase Elliott's going to show up lately. And you, of course, aren't allowed to mention the guy in the lead there. So I like Chris Buescher at 275 in Group B.
I do like Buescher in this group. I do agree with you. I'm probably not going to pick this group because the one that scares me is Chastain.
When he shows up, man, he shows up.
Right. And we saw how well he ran last week. Look, put both those Trackhouse cars in the top 10. Chastain had a second. Suarez came in 10th. You feel like that team obviously is getting a little bit better. And like you mentioned, Chase Elliott is such an outlier because, look, if you go week to week to week, he's been one of the most consistent drivers on the track. But that consistency hasn't been finishing in the top 3, but he's been finishing top 10 almost 15. Every week. And that's why he's up there fairly high in the points. So this group scares me just a little bit too, just because of that. I wish Buescher was coming in at like plus 295 and those other guys, somebody's down to plus 235. I like when Chris
Buescher used to be in Group D and F.
Well, this is true. Now we got Chris Buescher in Group B. Much tougher to pick.
Much tougher competition.
I like Buescher. Probably not ready to go and pick that one yet. All right, let's take a look here at our Group C now, where Chase Briscoe comes in as our favorite at plus 255, along with Ty Gibbs and Joey Logano. So actually, we got 3 favorites again. Chase Briscoe, Ty Gibbs, Joey Logano, all at plus 255. And Bubba Wallace, and you mentioned he got his first non-super speedway win here. He's plus 310. That's a big number on Bubba.
You got the 3 Toyotas and the 1 Ford, and you're taking the guy that won last weekend, and you're taking the guy that is the reigning champion, and you're putting him 255 against, look, Chase Briscoe, if we're talking Martin Truex Jr. in this team, Martin Truex Jr. finished, 3rd or 4th in this race last year. He finished 4th in this race last year. This is not Martin Truex Jr. on that team. Chase Briscoe's been getting better, but not there. Ty Gibbs, he's been getting better, but not, we can't get there every week. Bubba Wallace, been getting better. Won this race before, but he's a little hit and miss some days. You're giving me Joey Logano in Group C. Last week it was Group D. This week he's just moved up to Group C.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but I agree with you totally. And last week we're getting it at plus 195. This week we're getting it plus 255, and I think he's going against comparable drivers.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. This to me, if we did like me and old Pete Pistone on the Fantasy Racing Preview Show, we had a lock of the week. I love this 255 in Group C with Joey Logano.
Well, and the one I guess I look at and I say, man, there is value is Bubba. And being 310.
310.
Being 310.
There's plenty there.
It does. It gives you some enticement on Bubba, but I'm kind of with you there. Joey Logano, you get him at plus 255. I would have made him the favorite in this group at about plus 220. 215 or 220.
I think this is a topsy-turvy group. I'm with you.
All right, let's take a look here at Group D. Group D is a very interesting group as well, where Brad Keselowski and Kyle Busch are both plus 240. Carson Hocevar and Austin Cindric are plus 300.
Who's been running the best in this group all year long?
Well, that's honestly, I think it's. I don't know.
Right, one guy has a win. I get it, but who's been running? Who has been running?
Hocevar has been the most consistent. However, I was very impressed with the entire Childress operation last week because Kyle was running top 5 when he spun. Austin Dillon had a top 5. That tells me that they made strides in that 1.5 mile program. And and Keselowski, they just, gosh, I don't know what to say. I just feel like that they're not that far away, but they just, something always seems to go wrong with them. I like Kyle Busch here.
I like Austin Cindric here. Or Austin Cindric or Hocevar. They're both 300. And honestly, I would pick Cindric just because Penske, it's a better team, but Hocevar, man, he hasn't been able to get to the finish line yet, but he runs so good week in and week out. He got the pole.
First career pole. In fact, the last 2 races, we've had first-time pole winners, Zane Smith and Carson right Hocevar. Now.
So, I do like Hocevar and Cindric. If I'm going to lean towards one, Cindric, just because the Penske deal is where I'd probably lean, but I like both those 2 dogs in this a lot.
Well, Cindric is one of those you sit there and you're like, okay. I know he won Daytona Talladega, but last year he won at Gateway, I believe, right? In St. Louis. Those Penske cars are going to be good. Cindric is the harder one for me. Hocevar hasn't really finished.
He doesn't finish. He still hasn't learned how to finish.
Last time I checked, they're only paying tickets on finishing. Well, right?
Understood, but look at how well he's run, and he does finish. Right. He does finish 8th, 9th, 14th. Right. He does get some of those. He's in Group D. What's
that old saying? To finish first, you must finish.
Oh, right? Trust me, I hated that growing up. Heard it a lot in my life, and now I say it to my son. I have turned into my father.
Oh, you're like the insurance guy on those commercials.
Yep.
Don't become your parents.
How do you stop becoming your parents? Yep, I am that guy.
Parents. Yeah, what's that? See, I remember the
Progressive.
commercial. Is that Progressive?
It's a Progressive.
See, I get all those insurance companies mixed up.
It's Progressive.
There's Progressive. There's Allstate. There's Nationwide. I can't keep them all straight. So Farmers. Who else we got out there? State Farm. I don't know. See,
me and Ann same time. Nobody else can hear that.
It's hard.
Hey, Sirius XM, you might have been able to hear it. Me and Ann both saying.
I just have a hard time keeping them all straight. In the commercials, like which one's Chris Paul in? Which one did Aaron Rodgers get fired from? Where's Flo? I don't know. So. Anyway,
you want to know a fun tie? Quick note: you want to know a fun tie to the Progressive commercials? You know the redheaded little kid in the Progressive commercials, the skinny little kind of reddish blondish guy. Mm-hmm. That's a Cashman. In Vegas,
Cashman Field,
Cashman Cadillac. Lots of
Cashman owned the Harley Davidson dealership.
He gave all that stuff up to become an actor, and that's him. That's Mr. Cashman.
Wow,
that's the heir to
good
Cashman.
for him. So. All right, learn something new every day. Okay, we'll get to one more group. Before we
digress.
Our third break.
We always
here,
digress.
Which is Group E, where Daniel Suarez and Noah Gragson are the co-favorites at plus 265, and then Eric Jones and Michael McDowell at plus 275.
Look, easiest thing here to say, last week he overdrove a corner, but the guy that runs the best in this group every week in, week out, is McDougal. I mean, he is absolutely the one that runs the best. You look how he ran last week. I love him in this group, but anything happens, right? I mean, Daniel Suarez and Eric Jones beat him last week because he overdrove a corner. So
and Suarez had a top 10. And Eric Jones had a
top 6.
Top 6.
Yeah, so I mean, it's right there, but I still think McDowell would be your favorite.
I agree that I think McDowell probably should be the favorite here, but this group kind of scares me too. There's a lot of scary groups this week. So I like him, but I'm not that confident. All right, we come back. We'll get to our final group, manufacturer props, tell you how we did last week, and give you our picks for Kansas. Welcome back to our final segment of Gone Racing. Brendan is sitting over here thrashing on his picks for this week. It's been a very stressful break between the third and the fourth. The fact that he's got a big boot on his foot and he's riding around on a scooter with these cute little pink tassels on it.
Oh, you're going to go there?
It's not stressful. But picking these 5 picks, because you're so far behind me in the standings right now, has made that more stressful, hasn't it?
Yeah. The worst was when I went into an establishment today and they said, "Oh, did your daughter put those on there?" And I go, "No, I have 2 sons." Yes, I have a little.
Who did put the tassels on there?
That would be the 17A distillery crew, Casey and Billy. They took it while I was in the gym today and put a little pink ring.
Maybe next time we'll just sit it up in front of the. We can. Yeah.
I'll be right on that, Motley. I'm going to throw a pack of. We need a pack of dude wipes. I can pitch them at you right now.
Good thing we have a week off next week, isn't it? So, be safe for me to be here. Okay. All right. Our final group. We in our Group F. Zane Smith and Austin Dillon are our co-favorites at plus 265. AJ Allmendinger and Justin Haley coming in at plus 270. You
mentioned this in the last segment. The RCR cars ran a lot better, and Austin Dillon is now 2 top 10s in a row in the last 2 races. So. You're telling me Group F, Zane Smith, who earlier in the season you were pretty high on Zane, and we were betting him a couple times, and he was winning, but he hasn't done that lately. That team has faded a little bit more.
And I thought winning that pole a couple weeks ago might give them.
They've not run well. Haley has kind of disappeared since Rodney Childers took off from and the Dinger, he just has not performed lately. So I think that Austin Dillon is a great pick in this group. It's Group F. He has run better. And, if he can just get a solid finish out of Kansas, I'll take it.
Well, much like I was in Group C, I'm very much in agreement with you. I do like Austin Dillon right here. Again, look, RC, don't let me down this week because I really think the Childress cars are I think they've gotten much better on the 1.5 mile tracks, and that's why I'm high on Kyle Busch.
He's got 3 top 10s last 10 races here, too.
Well, and I'm high on Kyle Busch and Austin Dillon. I know Dillon's always run well in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Very similar track to Kansas. So, I like Austin Dillon here.
So do I.
All right, our manufacturer props here. Chevy is the overwhelming favorite here at plus 110. Toyota is plus 180. And then Ford comes in at plus 275. And let's not forget that Ford came in as the long shot last week at plus 300.
It's come down a little, plus 275. But is there still juice there worth the squeeze? I absolutely do, because I believe that Josh Berry was the best car during that race. I do believe that it's hard to argue that Joey Logano did win the race. And I think that Ryan Blaney was also very strong down the stretch, and Michael McDowell had a chance to win that race in a Ford. So I look at those four and I say 275. That is a great return for the Ford. Now, who's the odds-on favorite? Who's the best here? Kyle Larson. You got him at plus 110. Sure, great. But
who beat a Ford by an inch last year to win this race?
Who beat a Ford by
maybe an inch.
The hair of their chinny chin chin.
Right.
So
I'm being gracious to the inch.
Yes. So I mean, it's
my gosh. What? Oh, I mean,
we're getting thrown off the air. Sirius XM's firing me.
Yeah, I was. That one was nowhere even near the first one.
Oh, can we talk about how bad we did last week? Because there's one thing on the championship odds I want to talk about when we get through this, because I do like Ford here.
Well, let's all right, and I kind of think it's a great value on Ford as well. So yes, we will move along to the championship odds. And would you please bestow whatever wisdom that you want to give to all of our viewers and listeners about the championship standings?
If you look at, we've talked all year long that there's some guys that we think have great value. This is from the South Point. Right now, Joey Logano is still 16-1.
I think it was about 20 last week.
It's still been around the same thing. Joey Logano is 16-1. He has basically, in my opinion, locked himself in this championship. With this win, he's there. He's 16-1. Tyler Reddick is still 10-1. There are guys that have tremendous value and still William Byron at plus 700.
I would say even William Byron at plus 700.
I think those are tremendous values right there for the championship. Remember, that's your future bets. Take advantage now, because those will change, and that's how you do a great job hedging later in the year when you have some money down.
No, I think you make very good points there. I'm still waiting for somebody to make a major leap somewhere, but we haven't seen that quite yet. So,
last week was terrible, Jeff.
I think the pit crew and myself, I think we each got one win.
Yes.
Last week, and that was the Joey Logano.
It was my first 0 for 5 in probably a season and a half. I was 0 for.
Yeah.
That sucked for me.
Look, I feel bad for you on your 0 for, because you and I had, I think, at least 2 of the same picks, maybe 3. I know we both had Josh Berry in Group C,
and
we had
Barry
Daniel Suarez
together
in Group B.
And Byron. Those 3 killed us. But Barry was great, dude. We both had Barry running great. I mean, that was fantastic. Reddick was running great right there. But the pit crew, they did get the Logano Group D winner. They did pick with you to get the Logano Group D. So
I wonder if we get our standings this week.
We got this cool graphic. Do we still have the cool graphic?
We have our cool standings graphic.
There it is. Season totals.
We got a graphic up on the screen here. Season totals. I'm at 23, 25.
You're doubled up on me.
Doubled up on you. You're 1175.
Actually, no, you're not. You're 0.25.
And did you see how fast Ann took those standings down? Because there's a hyphen before that number. That's a minus sign.
I'm impressed how quickly Ann was able to clear the screen on that, because we don't, of course, control those sorts of things. And if you're watching the Gone Racin YouTube channel, you blinked and you missed that. It was like going through Baker.
I know. I feel like we're going to have to start putting those on our personal Twitter accounts.
I think we have to,
so that it stays up there.
It's still minus for the pit crew, by the way. They are in the negatives. They were positive all season. They've had a couple weeks that have hurt them, so they are now in the minus. You and me, Jeff, though, we're still well below my personal Mendoza line, but a lot of racing left.
Absolutely. And I heard a rumor
that she did her hair today. She did her hair, so we have a rumor that the great and powerful
go
Oz
on camera
will
to
give us our picks.
Her pick,
there she is. She's in the box.
I'm in the box.
If we're 2 in a 2 shot, she's a.
No, you're 2 in a 2 box.
We're 2 in a 2 box. She's 2 in a
box.
Is she a 2.5?
2 on a 2 shot means that we're like just one.
So is she like a 2.5 in a 2 box, or
that's a quarter box?
We're 3 in a 2.5 box.
Okay, gotcha. 3
and a half. I call it 2 1/4 though.
We're getting some crazy math here.
It's a very small.
Miss Pit Crew, let's hear it. The hair looks great, by the way.
Thank you. And I got to direct as I'm doing this, but this is the week that I'm going all in on Joey, because Pit Crew is now negative, as you mentioned, Jeff. So now, so we've got, so we're going all Joey all the time. We're going to take him to win. We're going to take him top 3. We're going to take him Group C. We're going to take the Fords, and then I ran out. There was no more. There was no more Joey. So we're just we're going to finish it off with a sure thing, maybe Kyle Larson in Group A.
Wow. If Joey Logano has a bad day,
then it's just more of the same.
That's a bold strategy.
And I don't mean that about Joey. I'm referring to our pit crew, of course. I just, in case Joey's listening, Joey, we're not talking to you.
Bold move, Cotton. See how that works out. I got to go second, don't I?
You do have to go second. You've been doing that a lot this year. Just better than going first.
Okay. I see where you're going there.
There's a silver lining in everything.
I did have these 7 numbers written down, and I've narrowed it down, Mr. Motley, to 5. I am not going as buck wild crazy as Ann and the pit crew is on the Joey Logano. I was torn between some things. I whittled it down. First, I'm going top 3s. I have Josh Berry for a top 3. He has proven to me that he deserves that, and I think that he has way too high of a number for me to pass up that top 3 number. That's plus 800 is what it was, so I'll take that. Reddick versus Larson head-to-head. I talked about it. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. Tyler Reddick at plus 140. Look, he's going against Larson. I get it. But it still is, that juice is worth that squeeze. Then I've got 3 group matchups. I am going with our old school favorite here, Jeff. Me and you, going all the way back to the Ron Flatter days. Chris Buescher. It may be Group B, but I still like him at plus 275. I am going to stick with a Joey pick. I'm going to go Joey in the group at plus 255. And then I'm going to go to that Group F pick, the Austin Dillon in Group F at plus 265. A lot of groups I like this week, but I had to whittle those down.
Well, we will be delivering our kiss of death because it has become a kiss of death the last times that we've all picked the same person.
We're not quite SI Sports.
So there
jinx.
is one unanimous pick.
Joey Logano group.
Here.
Yeah, figured.
So when you're in first place.
Oh, here he goes.
And you've got a comfortable margin in first place. Then you can sometimes take a gamble on a big pick, which is what I'm going to do this week.
Okay.
I am going to take Josh Berry to win. I will see your top 3. I see your top 3.
If I get my top 3, he's going to whoop me in that too.
And I am picking him to win, but you will still be farther above your Mendoza line. Or maybe not your Mendoza line. So that's my first pick. I am going to also go in the head-to-heads, but a different head-to-head. I'm going to take Chris Buescher at the plus 110.
I had that, but I switched it to the group. I had that when I went to the group, better return.
And then my other picks are in the groups. I think I was pretty open that Joey Logano was my pick in Group C, so we all have that. And then I am going to put my money where my mouth is in my support, my belief in the entire RCR team. I'm going Kyle Busch in Group D.
All right.
And Austin Dillon along with you in Group F.
Oh, you're going all in on RCR. So I'll tell RC he'll send you that check that he owes you.
RC, I appreciate that. It's funny. I had in my office when I worked at the Speedway here in Vegas, he sent me a bottle of Jack Daniels that he so kindly autographed, and so I've just always felt bad about ever drinking it or opening it. So I just have a full bottle of Jack Daniels that RC signed.
It's a commemorative bottle
because he always wanted me to give him a sticker so he could go up on the blackjack club and watch the race. And he was like the only person that didn't buy a ticket that we let go up on top. It's of
Richard. You let Richard do anything he wants.
Club. So, so RC, I'm pulling for you guys. Kyle, I'm rooting for you.
RC, if you call me 30 minutes before the Kentucky Derby post time again next year, give me an hour. Give me an hour.
Did he ask you who was going to win?
No, he wanted to place 2 bets. And I was like, RC, you're giving me 20 minutes to get these in.
Were you down here?
No, but
I'm sure you knew somebody you could call.
Vincenz always comes through for me when I need him.
Well, there you go.
Vincenz pulled it out. And Ryland Gaughan looked like the Kentucky Derby winner with all that mud in his face. Check out Brendan62.
Great.
It's pretty
all
fun.
right. We'll see you in 2 weeks because we're not doing a show for the All-Star race, but enjoy the race at Kansas this week, and we'll be back for the Coke 600.